Anyone interested in learning more about this Nexium trial that's going to take place on October 1st, 2018 with Keith Raniere and Allison Mack currently indicted? There are more people that are going to be indicted soon, but this is the criminal complaint that was filed by the FBI against Keith Raniere, also known as the Vanguard. There are many interesting details in here that you don't read about in the press. And they can't get everything out, I guess, but they're being charged with sex trafficking and civil rights violations. And this is filed, again, this is filed by the FBI. They said that Nexium operates largely in secrecy, which often requires people to sign non-disclosure agreements and to make promises not to reveal certain things about Nexium's teachings. So this is why you're not hearing about more people coming out about Nexium or DOS, because they have all signed non-disclosure agreements. Nexium maintains features of a pyramid scheme where members are recruited via promise of payments or services for enrolling. Every year in August, Nexians pay $2,000 or more to gather in Silver Bay, New York to celebrate Vanguard Week in honor of Raniere, whose birthday is August 26, 1960. Based on information during the course of the investigation, Raniere maintained a rotating group of 15 to 20 women. He maintained sexual relationships. These women were not permitted to have relations with anyone else or to discuss their relationship with anyone else. Nexium curriculum included teachings about the need for men to have multiple sex partners and a need for women to be monogamous. Now they get into DOS. Oh, well, before I get into that, I just want to mention that the classes, the entities offer classes with personal professional development, and based on information obtained in the course of the investigation, the entities cost up to $5,000 for a 5-day workshop. Participants were encouraged to keep attending classes and to recruit others. These levels were marked by different colored sashes, which were worn by the Nexians, which had different responsibilities and privileges. Many Nexians find themselves in debt from the courses that they're required to take, and some are obliged to take jobs working for Nexium in order to continue taking courses and to pay off their debts. However, because of the high price of the courses, the pressure to continue taking them, participants would often continue to accumulate new debts and remain obliged to Nexium. So that's in addition to their, so these people are under non-disclosure agreements and they're in debt to Nexium. And then there's the DOS, which is a smaller group within Nexium, which is, again, with the sex slaves where they can only have sex with him. Okay. All right, it says here that says that the master told the prospective slave that in order to learn more, she had to provide, quote, collateral, which meant to ensure the prospective slave would keep what she learned a secret. Oh, I already went over that. There's more, hold on. Okay, here we go. Collateral provided by prospective slaves included sexually explicit photographs, videos made to look candid in which the prospective slaves told damning stories, true or untrue, about themselves, close friends, and or family members, and letters making damaging accusations, true or untrue, against friends and family members. So if you're a friend or a family member of a Nexium person, you have to watch out because they may have made tapes about you, and there could be lies in there. In many cases, the masters helped the prospective slaves develop ideas for what would be appropriate collateral, or instructed the prospective slaves to lie on lies to tell to make their collateral even more damaging. So the Nexium actually encouraged them to lie about their friends and family members on video And this can all be released if they ever break their non-disclosure. So it's not just nude pictures. Nexium curriculum taught women that they had inherent weaknesses, including, quote, over-emotional natures, an inability to keep promises, and embracing the role of victim. The masters told prospective slaves that their respective relationships would be masters and slaves. If they hesitated, they were told that showed their weaknesses, and that's why they had to join the program. Prospective slaves who agreed to join DOS were told that in order to join, they had to provide additional collateral, and that included collateralizing all aspects of their lives, including signing over assets, disclaiming their faith, and doing things that would ruin their careers and relationships if the collateral were released. DOS slaves understood that if they left DOS, spoke publicly about DOS, or repeatedly failed DOS obligation assignments, their collateral could be released. All DOS slaves were ultimately required to provide collateral beyond what had been initially described to them. So, for example, DOS slaves were not initially told that they would have to provide collateral every month. In most cases, DOS slaves continued to provide additional collateral beyond what they had initially understood was expected, in part because they feared that the collateral they had already provided would be released. So these people are going to be really nervous now, and they'll probably do anything to stop this from coming out about him and about this group. And they're probably really scared. They're in debt to this guy, and he's got all kinds of collateral with lies about their friends and family. So this could really destroy their lives, a lot of people's lives. And these are very, very wealthy people who joined this group to begin with. So you're talking a lot of very wealthy people, and their friends and families and careers are on the line with this. This is a very touchy subject, and it's a lot of damage that can be done to a lot of people. And a lot of it's not true. And even NXIVM encouraged these people to lie about their friends and family. I mean, it's crazy. This whole thing the craziness just goes on and on. I mean, it's not just the sex slaves. I mean, it goes beyond that with the kinds of craziness that went on with this group, with this man, Raniere. And the DOS slaves had to do all kinds of menial tasks for him, bring him coffee, buy him groceries, making him lunch. They were chastised and punished for not performing their tasks sufficiently, or if they failed to acts of care. So Raniere is known, this you hear about in the news a lot. Raniere is known to sexually prefer women who were exceptionally thin, and a number of the slaves' assignments required them to an extremely low-calorie diets and to document any food they ate. They were assigned to be celibate, during which they were not allowed to have sex with anyone. Says DOS victims who received the assignment to have sex with him believed they had to complete the assignment or risk release of their collateral. So these people were paying him and being coerced to have sex with him. I mean, it's insane. So they had these text drills. They had to constantly be taking texts from him and responding right away. They had to engage in acts of self-denial or things that would cause them discomfort, including taking ice-cold showers for several minutes, standing for an hour at 4 a.m., and performing planks, a difficult exercise where one rests their forearms and tiptoes to keep their back as flat as possible. So he made them do humiliating things and uncomfortable things just for the sick fun of it. They were put in a cage, told in one instance a master who, unbeknownst to her slaves, was herself a direct slave of Raniere, told her slaves that she could be punished by being paddled or being put in a cage by Raniere. Then this is the one you hear about in the news. Many of the DOS victims were branded in their pubic regions with a cauterizing pen. During the ceremony, slaves were required to be fully naked, and the master would order one slave to film while the others held her down while she was being branded. Some DOS victims were told that the brand stood for the 4 elements, the lines representing air, earth, water, and the cauterizing pen sealing the fire. But based on information obtained during the course of the investigation, however, it's clear the brand is in fact consistent of Raniere's initials. It was a form of tribute. This is a picture of the branding they did. They said it's Raniere and it's also Allison Mack's initials. And Allison Mack has admitted that it was her idea. So after the FBI began interviewing witnesses, Raniere flew to Mexico with an heiress who was a member of the Nexium's executive board. Prior to this trip, Raniere had not flown out of the country since 2015. When he visited, he took the heiress's private island to Fiji. So they served him there in Mexico and arrested him there. So, yeah, so this is all these interesting details, and there's more that comes up. They're talking to some chats that he had where he says here that account also emails between another woman believed to be a DOS slave and Raniere. Attached to one of the emails is a WhatsApp chat with the woman and Raniere. In these chats, they discussed as early as May 2015 a vow that required collateral. Raniere stated to the woman, quote, "I think it would be good for you to own a fuck toy slave for me that you could groom and use as a tool to pleasure me." And then on October 23rd, 2015, he suggested the woman recruit a slave who could seduce Raniere. An actress, I think this is probably Allison Mack, is currently understood to be one of the women with whom Raniere maintained sexual relationship prior to DOS. So this just goes into the history of how he made his sex slaves. It says, one night Jane Doe was staying in CC1 Clifton Park. She received a text from Raniere, woke Jane Doe up in the middle of the night, and told her that Raniere was there to go on a walk with her. Told Jane Doe was assigned to tell Raniere she would do anything that Raniere asked her to. Jane Doe did as she was ordered, and Raniere asked her what the worst thing he could order her to do was. Jane Doe told Raniere that she had initially thought it would be something sexual, but that the worst thing would be if he asked her to kill herself or someone else. At the end of the walk, Raniere told Jane Doe that he did not believe she really meant she would do anything he asked. The next night, received another text message from Raniere in the middle of the night. She was assigned to do anything he asked. He led her to a house across the street. Raniere directed her to remove all her clothes and made comments about her naked body. Raniere then blindfolded her, led her to a car, and drove her around in a manner that made her believe he was trying to prevent her from knowing where they were going. Raniere led her, still blindfolded, through some trees into what she believed was a shack and tied her to a table. Another person in the room, who Jane Doe did not previously know was present, began performing oral sex on Jane Doe as Raniere circled the table making comments. Jane Doe did not want to participate in the sexual activity but believed it was part of her commitment to Doss, and that if she broke her commitment to Doss, her collateral would be released. Jane Doe was never put on a diet, but Jane Doe was 5'5" tall and weighed only 100 pounds before joining Doss, and she then lost some additional weight as a member of Doss due to stress and lack of sleep. In the following months, Raniere had repeated sexual contact with Jane Doe, including oral and sexual intercourse on a number of occasions. He would take her to a space he called library, which was on the second floor of a house in Clifton Park. And the library had a hot tub and a loft bed. So basically, she had to have sex with him. But it turns out like he's not just having sex with them; he's like messing with their minds. He's blindfolding them and having other people do things to them. I mean, this is really screwed up. This is like Psycho. And this is like from a movie or something. It says throughout Jane Doe's time, she regularly required slaves to pose for nude photographs, including close-up pictures of their private areas, sending these photographs to Raniere. I mean, this is just crazy. These people are just nuts. So anyways, it's all here in this document. I'll send a link to it. This is the official criminal complaint against Keith Raniere. So you can see just how messed up this whole situation is, and how deranged this man really is, and how bizarre and just crazy this group was, this cult. So if anyone tells you this is some place that, I mean, this was the smaller Doss group within the Nexium, but still the whole thing is just, the whole thing is just bizarre and crazy. I can't think of any of the words.